Hello and welcome to For the Birds with Richard Cole. And the amazing Richard Cole is here with us today to answer all of your birding questions. We've got some great topics coming up today. Richard, you want to just tell us about some of the topics?
Oh, it's a lot of different things. We've got some calendar events coming up this month. The whole month is a special event for everybody who likes birds. And also, there's the great backyard bird count, which is a joint effort between Audubon and the Cornell University. And it's been going on for 20 something years, and that we're going to talk about that and why you really would like to participate and why you need to participate in that. It's an easy thing to do. That's a fun event too. And then we're going to have all kinds of little things to talk about confusing birds and a fun kind of list of certain types of birds. And we're also, let's see.
Valentine gifts, right?
Oh, good grief. Yes. I'd get in trouble if I forgot that. A bunch of us would. So yeah, Valentine's gift. And are we going to talk any more about pine siskins?
We're going to, help you identify pine siskins from birds that look like pine siskins at your feeder.
That's one of our confusing bird things I think we're going to talk about. So yeah,
right, it's a great show today. And
cool
February,
show.
February is an exciting month for all of us who love to feed the birds. And let's start it off just by talking about that, and February being National Bird Feeding Month. So Richard, tell us a little bit about that and how that came to be.
Well, it's a lot of people like birds, and we went through the late 1800s and early 1900s decimating bird populations, and then everybody got wise that that's not a good thing to do. And slowly but surely, restrictions started coming in. There was a national treaty between us and South America and for migratory birds, so we don't kill them all for hat plumage and and sport. So the population started building up. So it's in that light, in that vein. I think it was 1994. One of our congressmen decided it'd be a good idea. I bet he liked birds. It would be a good idea to just introduce a month for birds, for wild birds. So it's National Bird Feeding Month. It's February. And that's a really good time to concentrate on feeding the birds. And why? Because it's, as I like to say, it's just when they need it the most. We feed them, it starts getting cold, we put out the seed. There's still a lot of natural food available, especially through the early fall into mid to late fall. Natural food's abundant for most birds, but they'll come to the feeders, of course, as supplementary feeding. But as you get further and further into the winter and head down toward the breeding season, which is going to start really late February and into March, it gets going good. And the food's running out. There's not a lot out there for them. So it's really an important time to feed the bird. So it's a great time for the government to step up and say, here's a month for bird feeding, and to put it on your mind. So yeah, look up National Bird Feeding Month, think about it, and just be aware that it is just when they need it the most. Be sure your feeders are filled up and clean for all your little bird friends.
So we already have a question, Richard. Sherry Rosen wants to know when those pine siskins are going to leave. They are eating her out of house and home. I know that feeling. We just talked about it. You have any idea when we might see the last of them?
Well, as a bird seed manufacturer and packager, I hope they never leave. We need more of those birds. They'll come and go, and it depends on where you are. You may not see any or just very few. If you're around where there's some large flocks decided to settle in for a while, you're going to see a lot of them. I've been fortunate enough to have a bunch of them myself, and I love it because it's such a change. You don't normally see this with these huge flocks of several hundred coming in and out of your feeders early, especially early in the day and right before dusk, before bedtime, especially early in the morning for siskins. They love the feeders early. And there's so many of them, it's just fun to watch them. And the other birds have to just take a sidestep and wait till they get out of the way. But they'll be gone. It won't last forever. These are not birds that are going to just stay here. They will come in this time of year, feed until it's time to go back, wherever they're going to go to. They're semi-migratory, you might say. They don't come down here all the time. I know there's been in the past, I remember 3, 4, 5 years, we wouldn't see any, or maybe just one or two. And then we have what we call an invasion year, and we'll see a bunch of them like this. So enjoy it. It may not be here every year, but we've had the last couple of years, we've had a good number of pine siskins in the Southeast. So just put out a little less food if you have to, or just put out more food and enjoy them.
Well, Sherry says she's had about 40 to 50 a day. I know the feeling. They also chase away my bluebirds, which I hate. But let's go back really quickly to tell us some things that people can do for National Bird Feeding Month that just sort of raise awareness about bird feeding.
Yeah, the day itself or the month itself brings awareness. If you pay attention to that, look up some things about it. But just think about like what we were just talking about. It is a hard time for birds. They have more trouble surviving in really late January, all through February and early March because their natural foods are not plentiful anymore. It's harder and harder for them to find something to eat. So just keep that in mind. And along with keeping your feeders full consistently, if you can't fill it up all the way every day, if that's too much, fill it up halfway, but do it consistently. Don't let the feeder run out because that disrupts their patterns. They love they're creatures of habit. They love to know where a food source is that's available and they can count on it. If they come a couple of times, there's no food there, they're not likely to come back for a while. They can't afford the energy to burn to go to someplace, some restaurant way down the road that's closed. So if you put a little food out each day or just keep your feeders full, the birds are going to be happier. You'll see a lot more birds and it'll work out well for them.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. We also want to remind people that you can see Richard Cole here every first Wednesday of the month at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time to answer your birding questions. But a lot of those videos, some of the best videos that we've done over time, and we've been at this, Richard, for about 3 years now, those are now on the Cole's website. So we'll take a look at that. And Richard, just tell us a little bit about what people can expect when they come to the Cole's website from the blog and all the videos and things they can learn.
There's a lot of information and all over the website, not just the little blogs, but in the blog section and with the videos, there's going to be a lot of selected subjects. And a lot of these shows like we're doing right now, they will take and pull out segments of the show that's pertinent to a certain subject, maybe like what we just talked about, and they'll put a title with it and they'll log it in there. So you can go and search for subjects that you're interested in or just peruse it and see if there's something that catches your attention. Maybe something about woodpeckers damaging your house, or just what we talked about winter feeding and hummingbirds, a lot of topics about hummingbirds, but you'll see all these on there and just pick them and choose them and you can see them without having to wait once a month for another show.
Yeah, that's a great idea. People can come to it's coleswildbird.com and see some of the mini videos. And of course, we want you here asking your questions, when we do the Facebook Live. But we also want to suggest some things that people can do for Valentine's. See, it's like birding is huge in February. You get the chance to give some gifts for your favorite friends that are birders, maybe buy something for yourself. So do you have any ideas and gift suggestions for birders during Valentine's Day?
The first suggestion and most important is don't forget Valentine's Day. Get something or you'll be in trouble. Let's just take care of that right off the bat. Past that, for bird feeding, it's just so hard to beat just a real good quality, simple feeder, like a tube feeder. The Cole's feeders are great for that. They're terrific tubes. They're easy to clean. They last a long time. They're well constructed, and the birds love them. They'll eat, and we got trays and we've got domes for them. So there's something you can have. We also have a nice bowl called the Bountiful Bowl. I like bowls for other types of food sometimes. You just hang the bowl up there. In fact, I can look outside out there, and I'm looking at a bowl right now because I put dried mealworms in it, and I put suet kibbles, cold suet kibbles in there, little suet type pellets that birds love to eat these. And I just put them in the bowl, and the birds hop up there on the bowl. I can see them really well. They grab what they want and they leave. And it's another way to feed the birds. And if you have some like little breadcrumbs, if you want to give that out there, or other foods like that, you can put those in the bowl and not worry about filling up a feeder. And talking about easy to clean, it's just the bowl with a dome over it. Very easy to clean. So I would, if someone doesn't have one, great little present. That and a little bag of seed or a bag of suet kibbles, or some even just plain sun meats in there is fine. Or a nutberry suet blend, which is some large chunky type food that a lot of birds love. it works well in the bountiful bowl. So that's, and some seed, you got to have, and always give your special sweetheart on Valentine's Day some seed to go along with the feeder. Seed and new feeder, hard to beat that combination.
Yeah, it really is. And Sherry Rosen has another question. Can you
Okay.
put these in the dishwasher?
Can you put which in the dishwasher?
Can you put these feeders like the Cole's
Oh,
tubular feeder? Can you put that? Can you put the Bountiful Bowl in the dishwasher?
yes, they are dishwasher safe. They are. I would not put it down on the very bottom right above the heating element, but they should be fine in the dishwasher. They're very tough, good, high quality plastic. So good way to clean them. I have a utility sink that I usually clean mine in, just give, because I'm always in a hurry. So I just throw them in the sink. I rub them down with a brush and a little soapy water, rinse them off, hang them up to dry for a little bit. And so I don't usually put mine in the dishwasher, but they'll be fine in there.
I'm like Sherry. I like to use the dishwasher. I do put mine in there. I didn't know what your official stance was on that, but I put mine in there, and it's always worked. So we do want to talk about also coming up in February the National Bird Count. Is that what it's called?
Yes, get it right here. GBBC, the Great Backyard Bird Count, and it's been going on for say roughly 25 years, 24 years, and it's a joint effort between Cornell University and the Audubon Society, and then a lot of people help and participate. It is a citizens effort to collect scientific data, and it's open to the public, and it's expanded over the years to being worldwide. So people everywhere, but it's predominantly in the United States. And everybody, you don't have to be a big, well, knowledgeable bird watcher to participate in this. It's a great for families. Just take a certain time on the 3 days that it runs, and I believe those days are the I can't find them on the list, but I think the 14th through the 16th of February. And you can look it up. Just look up, if you look up and search for GBBC or Great Backyard Bird Count, you'll see a lot of information on this. You can visit their site, and it'll give you instructions of really what to do and what you're trying to do. But the basics are you spend a certain time once a day for the 3 days, or just once. You can do like 15 minutes, would be probably the recommended minimum, up to an hour, and in the same place, and you just count the number of birds and types of birds you see. Oh, I saw 4 goldfinches. I saw 3 crows. I saw, and whatever, and do the best you can to list what you think they are and how many you saw. And you send that information in. And the one person's information is not a lot, but when you're talking about hundreds of thousands of people at the same time in the United States doing this, you get a snapshot of what's around on that day, that time of year. And that in itself is okay. But over the years, year after year, same time of year, same locations, you get a lot of valuable information about bird populations and what's moving around, what's going up, what's going down. And you can get, it's great scientific information that the layperson can participate in. Great for kids. Parents get the kids out there and you sit and say, oh, let's spot the birds. It's like the old games when you used to drive somewhere and didn't have anything else to do. You'd count the cows or something, or how many Studebakers on the road you saw. Well, you can go out in the backyard and just count the birds, and everybody can participate. And it's very simple to fill it out, go to their site and fill it out and submit it. And you have done a good service for everybody. And then you can do it every year and
I
look forward to it.
know. I know that you really enjoy doing this, Richard. And we do have a graphic up on the screen so people know where to go and that kind of thing. Tell us let's talk a little bit about some of the birds that people confuse, because there's a lot of birds that sometimes it's hard to tell them apart. Do you want to start with all the different birds that are blue or have blue in them?
That's a fun thing to do. Very briefly, I mentioned when I first started watching birds, becoming attracted to the idea of this, it was a whole new world, and I didn't know one bird from another, and there was several birds that really confused me for months and months, till finally I'd see something that would let me know how to tell the difference in them. It don't happen overnight. It's not super difficult, but it takes a little time to get used to differentiating all the different birds out there. There's a lot of different species, And the species in many cases have different colors between the male and female, and then different colors on top of that between the seasons. So it can be difficult. But we did something here for this. We were talking about this concept of what birds are hard to identify. We've done a few others in the past. You maybe even find them on the website. And but we got into this bluebirds. What's the difference between a blue jay and a bluebird? Then we got talking about bluebirds. Well, no, wait a minute. There's a lot of blue birds as opposed to the eastern bluebird. So we came up with a list of just some of them, not even all of them, but some of the bluebirds if you're looking for bluebirds.
And I would
Who,
love for the people watching if you can put like what birds you might confuse, and then Richard can help you as the people are watching today and participating. But yeah, look at all of these different birds with blue in them. And I told Richard some people get a blue bird and a blue jay confused. Not really that they look the same, but that you've heard these terms all your life and maybe you just don't know. So, but yes, they don't really look alike. But
not
tell
at all.
me,
But if you're new to this and you just hear bluebird and you see a blue jay, well, that's a bluebird.
yes.
But so are a bunch of others. Have y'all got the list of those, or should I read some off?
Oh no, we have them. We can put them up. But yeah, go ahead and read them off. And just if you wanted to, maybe give us some, perspective on things that you can look for in the different birds. But yes, we have a graphic up showing all the different birds that are blue.
Oh, well, most of them, right? A lot of them.
So we've got a blue bunting, a blue jay, an indigo bunting, the Florida scrub jay, the barn swallow, the western scrub jay, the varied bunting, the Mexican jay, the Steller's jay, eastern bluebird, pinion jay, black-throated blue warbler, tree swallow, lazuli bunting, and a painted bunting. Richard, which of these do you think are the easiest to mix them up?
Well, I tell you, it's the smaller birds tend to be easy to mix up. We get a lot of people confusing some of the buntings, and that it's going to take some time for you to see them, especially once you learn the two different ones. One's a little bit bigger than the other. The colors are slightly different, but one of them's a deep blue bird, and one of them's not quite as deep blue, but a little bit bigger. It's just hard to separate some of those birds until you get very familiar with them. Things like, of course, the blue jay and a eastern bluebird, very easy to tell the difference once you're familiar with it, but it'll take you some time.
Right.
And one of the things that I came up with was the blue jay and
the kingfisher. Yeah.
Pardon?
The kingfisher, right? We have
Oh,
a
yeah,
graphic with those two.
Yeah.
The blue jay.
And those two birds are to anybody who's been watching for a while, it's like, oh, how could you possibly not tell the difference in those two birds? But when you're brand new to this, it's very easy not to see the differences. They're both kind of blue. They're not total blue, but they got some white, they got some blue. They both had a little top knot on their head, and they're both decent sized birds. So if you see a bird, you're out walking by the lake, and you see a blue jay over on a tree, take a second look at it. It may not be a blue jay. It may be a kingfisher. And if you see that bird over by a lake, you think it's a blue jay, and it jumps off the limb, it dives into the water, it's not a blue jay. It is a kingfisher going down for a minnow. So that was something you just kind of keep out for, and just realize that once you start looking at these things critically, you'll start seeing differences in them that you never noticed before. And that's what makes the watching the birds a little bit fun. It's not like you have to know all this stuff or all the birds, but if you know a little bit more about them, it's a lot more fun when you go out for a walk.
So Sherry Rosen tells us that she loves and hates the belted kingfishers as a photographer. Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
So are they larger than a blue jay? In our picture, they look about the same size, but I wasn't sure.
Lengthwise, I'm not positive. I think the blue jay's longer, but might not be. I know that the kingfisher is stockier looking. I call it the punk rocker of the bird world because it's got that little flat, pushed back top knot on it, and it's got a very thick head and neck area and a very large bill for picking up fish. And the blue jay is, of course, a much more slender bill and more slender head, but they're both comparable sized birds, and both have somewhat of a blue and white pattern, although the kingfisher, I think, is a little more stark colored than that. And but just at casually glancing, without looking really close, you might mistake one for the other. Most likely mistake a kingfisher for a blue jay, because you've probably seen a lot of blue jays. And of course, for all those other blue birds we just mentioned, uh, go through your field guide. If you don't have a good field guide, get one or maybe two, and just go at it easy. And slowly but surely, you'll be surprised how easy it is to pick up the different birds. Once you come from there, one, and just keep looking for it in your yard, and you'll finally be able to eliminate that one from everything else you're seeing, because you'll know the chickadee, whichever type it is you're in, depending on the area in the country, and you'll know the titmouse, and you'll certainly know the blue jay, and then you'll recognize the goldfinches. And but over a period of time, you get very familiar with a lot of these common birds, and once you know those, then the other ones will stand out more because you won't know what it is, and then you'll have a fun trying to figure out what the new bird is.
Yeah, and you always recommend a certain book that people can get to be able to see and read all about them, right? What is the book that you recommend?
There's a couple of them out there, and first I always recommend one with drawings as opposed to photographs of birds, although it sounds counterintuitive. I want to see a photograph of the bird, but it's easier to show the things you should be looking for with a drawing as opposed to a picture, because you can set the bird up exactly the way you want to. But there was a person who started field guides. In fact, the modern field guide was Roger Torrey Peterson, and his books are still available. And it's called Peterson's Field Guides. Got one for the Eastern United States, Western United States, etc. There's several other. Audubon has one out. There's probably 10 others out there that are fine, and some of them have pictures, and some of them have the drawings. And National Geographic, I believe, has one. But if you have one that's got the drawings in it, I would suggest starting with the Peterson. And there's one or two others out there that aren't too terribly complicated. Get it for your section of the country, because that eliminates a lot of birds you don't have to worry about that, because they're not in your territory. And just start with it and go at it casually and just try to pick up one or two birds a week. And you'll find that's a lot of fun. And after a while, you'll be very knowledgeable about the birds coming to your feeders.
Yeah. So, Richard, tell us about one more. It's the pine siskin versus the goldfinch. You might not think these look much alike, but boy, they do.
Yeah.
We have the
Yeah,
picture showing them.
they do. And here we go back to the pine siskins. It's funny how they've come up in conversations here lately, because there's so many of them in this area of the country right now. And like our caller said, they're everywhere. But the pine siskin versus the goldfinch, when you look out there, American goldfinch, and there's a Western version of the goldfinch. It's not quite as strongly colored, but the male in breeding plumage in the late summertime is brilliant yellow. There's a canary out there. It's brilliant yellow. But after the breeding season's over, about now, they start dropping that bright yellow plumage, and they start looking more like the females, which is more of a drab colored, less yellow bird. That's not a strong yellow. And the siskin is really a small brown bird with a lot of striping on it, little streaks. But they're similar in size. The siskin's a little smaller, and they mix in sometimes. At this time of year, the goldfinches come to the feeders, and the siskins will mix in with them. And you look, unless you're very familiar with them, it's like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of goldfinches out there, or maybe there's a bunch of siskins. You don't see the goldfinches unless it's a male that hasn't changed all the way, or and the female's a little bit bigger, so you might catch it. But those two, just look at them, and there again, the field guide. Once you see it in the field guide, you'll tell yourself, well, that's easy. I can tell the difference in those. And once you become familiar with looking at it, it will become easy. And you see how pick up your binoculars, look at them in binoculars, and you'll see that the siskin is a slender, small bird, slightly smaller than the goldfinch, with a lot of streaking on it. And the goldfinch doesn't have all that streaking, and it's a little more yellow.
Yeah, that's the main thing that you could tell is that streaking. But it's also, I found it helpful. I have a Georgia backyard bird, identifying book. And one of the things that I found so helpful is that it will also talk about the type of flight that a bird has, that you might be able to tell one from another just by how it flies, like whether it's undulating and all that. Do you even need those kind of things, Richard, or are you way past that?
No, it's I'd love to say that I'm way past that, but no. Sometimes that really helps. There's other nuances when you're looking at identifying birds, and you get further into this. Don't don't worry about having to know all that other stuff. Get your simple field guide. Pick out your 5 or 10 birds in your backyard. That's a good start. Go at it easy. This is not a difficult challenge. Don't make it hard. Just make it enjoyable. But as you get further into it, you can do two things. You see a bird a little further out, and you're not going to see the color. You're not going to pick up binoculars quick enough to get the sight on the bird as it runs by. But you can see the flight pattern. In some cases, you can have a hint of what it may be within a few different birds, and just how it flies. As you said, you'll see it having that little undulating flight pattern because of the way it flaps its wings, or it may be very sharp, very quick, or very slow on its wing beats. And you'll learn by those to be able to help differentiate which bird it might be. Of course, there's a lot of other things that you probably would want to look at first. And here again, some of the good field guides will point this out early in the front of the book, like the Petersons does. Things like you have that second and a half or 2 seconds, maybe 3, to see a bird well. And what do you look at? You have a tendency to try to see the whole bird, and then it flies off, and you're trying to remember, what did I see? Nothing. But if you train yourself to look at the specifics, what's the bill shape? Is it long and pointy? Is it conical like on a cardinal? And then several. Is it short? Is it long? That helps identify the bird. Then you'll look at the patterns on the wing. Is it got big blotches of color on the wing? You get total head shape and things on the wing, what we call wing bars. Some wings have little bars of color across them, mostly white. And there's 4 or 5 things like that you can learn to key on and really help your identification skills quickly, because you'll go just to what will eliminate down to just 1 or 2 birds.
Yeah, and you can also just to mention that another way to identify them is by their song or by their call, and there are websites you can go to. I don't know them off the top of my head, where you can literally listen to any bird call, and I think that is really helpful too.
Boy, that's gotten a whole lot easier with the advent of cell phones. I tell you. Before that, you just have to listen, and you can maybe play a tape if you took one with you, or try to memorize what you heard. But many people can identify a lot of birds simply by hearing them, because they know the call so well. They don't have to see the bird at all. They know exactly what bird it is. I'm okay at best. My wife, Nancy, is very good at that. She'll hear a bird and she knows what it is. I'm not that good. I can remember, it's funny, I can remember the sound, but I can't put it with a bird. I tell her what it sounded like. She said, oh, that's so-and-so.
Yeah.
So you may be one of the people who can really pick up on the sounds as well. And that helps you hear a sound and then say, oh, let me go see that bird because it's so-and-so. And it's interesting to use that aspect to identify the birds that you might not see at first.
Yeah, my husband is better at it than what I am. He'll hear a bird and he'll be like, "That's a so and so," and I'm like, "How do you know?" And then I'll look over
Yeah,
and he's right.
yeah.
He can tell what it is. Is there any bird that you particularly like their song, or is your favorite, Richard?
You know, there's several of them. Yeah, I like, in a way, a mockingbird. I know it's silly. They just sit up there and mock other birds and make funny sounds. And in a neighborhood I lived in some years ago, we had one that would imitate cars and sirens. And they have a little bit of mimic capabilities, a mockingbird. And sometimes they get away from just mocking birds to mocking other sounds they're hearing around the neighborhoods. And I always thought I'd hear that thing on the street around the corner from us. And I said, yeah, I recognize the bird. And so I know what that's not a siren. That's the mockingbird down
That's
there. So
amazing. I didn't really
I like
realize that.
I like those birds just because they're interesting like that. And but thrushes, there's several thrushes out there that have a nice warbly little sweet sound you hear in the woods. Those are nice. But all of them are interesting. It gets down to, like, what's the prettiest bird, and you see what the name of the prettiest bird was. I don't want anything but the prettiest bird. I don't want anything but one sounds like this. But once you get that, you're down to one bird. That's not interesting at all. So we have this huge array. And well, like in Georgia, there's over 300 species of birds in this state. So and everybody says, well, I don't like the blackbirds, or I don't like this, or the crows. They're all, if you didn't have all of them, it wouldn't be near as interesting. You would only, you'd only have like the American bluebird and hummingbird, maybe. That would be it. So
Yeah,
you would lose a lot of interest. So enjoy all of them,
they do. And
especially,
oh, go
especially
ahead.
National Bird Month.
Exactly. And you can count them as well. But I was
Yep.
going to say, when you mentioned the mockingbirds, you know what I love about them? They are fierce. I will, if a mockingbird has a nest and you go outside and you're anywhere near that, she will come right after you. Like, I have
Yeah.
never seen, and they will chase away much bigger birds.
Yes. Yes. They're fearless when it comes time to protect the nest. Absolutely.
They are fearless, and that I just love to see. I've seen them chase away, crows much bigger than what they are and all that. And boy, they're just like, get out of my way. I'm scared to be near their nest. They'll let you have it. Richard, anything else that you want to talk about? We just have a couple more minutes left, but is there anything else that you want to say? I'm so happy to Sherry Rosen. I appreciate all of her participation. We have quite a few viewers on, but Sherry's been the most interactive, and we love that. We really want you to ask your birding questions to Richard Cole, our expert.
Well, I'll mention real quick before you go, I talked a while back about New Year's resolutions, and some of which is like just, for helping out the birds, is keep the feeders full and keep them clean. Try out some new foods, make that a New Year's resolution, and try out new feeders. Feeders are not terribly expensive, $30 to get you a nice feeder. Put a couple of them out there, but did you follow through? Did you make some resolutions about doing a better job with that? And did you follow through? And just think about it, especially in February now, this National Bird Feeding Month. And just keep your feeders full most of the time, and keep them clean. It's a little trouble to clean them sometimes. Of course, the Coles tube feeders are much easier to clean. Little plug there. But just keep your feeders clean, keep seed in them, enjoy the birds.
All right. Thank you so much, Richard. We'll see you next month at the beginning of the month. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Have a great day.
Hello, this is Richard Cole. I want to thank each of you for watching, and I want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to share it.